So let's talk about your latest book, Understanding Trump. This is the 35th book you've published. You're incredible, actually. You've got the foreword by Eric Trump, the president's son, and you chronicle your time on the campaign trail with then candidate Trump, why you believe he won the election. Tell us more about this.
Well, I decided to write the book because really in December because Trump is different than any other president we've ever had. He is a pure entrepreneur. He's not a traditional corporate leader. He's an entrepreneur. He gets up in the morning, he wants to create something. He wants to make things happen. He operates off of a totally different mindset than this is part of the Washington press corps' problem. Between their liberalism and their narrow parochialism, they don't get him either way. They don't understand his values and they don't understand his techniques. And so I wanted to go out and take, first of all, Trump himself has written a number of books. I've watched him on the trail. Clifton and I have known him for a long time. And I want to try to describe what are the patterns that really explain how Trump operates. Now, this is not called Predicting Trump. I don't think you...
I don't think you could write that book.
You can't write it. He couldn't write it.
Right.
He can't predict himself. But you can... I'll give you one example. He learned, dealing with New York's Page 6, to always counterpunch. And if you watch him, if he I don't care who hits him, if he gets hit, he will immediately hit back. And that's deep into 30 or 40 years of experience and how he operates.
You're right. Does the way he operates, though, gets him in trouble as well? I mean, like with the whole tweeting. And I recognize this is a brilliant move on his part because he's got that direct line to his constituents, to the people who voted for him. And if the media is not telling your story properly, then, yeah, you're going to go direct. I get that. But sometimes with the tweeting, that if he goes off talking about something else, bringing the attention back to something that maybe he shouldn't have, what do you think about that?
Well, I mean, we were here together in October before, and this is where we first talked about the idea of big Trump and little Trump.
Yeah, and that comment that you made went viral when you said, is he going to be big Trump or little Trump?
What helps people understand, there are moments when he is amazingly historic, when you see him literally changing history. And then there are moments when you go, no, why would you do that? And I've told him personally, so this is not any great shock, I've said, look, 10% less Trump would be 100% more effective. There are places where he needs to learn to edit himself. Reagan was extraordinarily disciplined, and so Reagan probably didn't do as many historically big things as Trump. I mean, he defeated the Soviet Empire, but I'm talking about on a daily basis, Trump does an amazing number of big things. The difference is Reagan made almost no mistakes, and so it's sort of a plus-minus relationship. Trump does an enormous number of things that are historic, and then he smothers them by doing things that allow the news media, who don't want to cover him.
They don't want him to win.
So they're going to always go to the weakest thing he does and exaggerate it because it lets them avoid the strong things he's doing. Good example today, Veterans Administration reform bill passed the House yesterday, enormously important bill. Dr. Shulkin is actually modernizing the VA. It's one of Trump's greatest achievements. But the administration needs to slow down and spend a week talking about VA achievements to get past the news media and get the American people to understand it.
Yeah, Dr. Shulkin joined us recently, and you're right. He really is really coming across effective. So the book is called Understanding Trump. Does the GOP understand Trump?
No.
I mean, exactly.
No.
Exactly. I mean,
that's part of the reason I wrote the book is to try to say to... I'll give you an example. Every Republican should study Attorney General Sessions yesterday.
Yeah, let's talk about that for a second.
Well, you know, Margaret Thatcher many years ago said, first you win the argument, then you win the vote. Sessions comes in, he's prepared, he's angry, he uses strong language, he stares down the Democrat. I mean, the Democrats aren't used to somebody who stands up to him and says, you know, this is outrageous, this is crazy.
And he knows them 30 years.
Yeah, and so I think that Sessions was a model. You know, Republicans, every time Republicans attack about health care, they should turn and say, you voted for Obamacare, you voted to destroy the insurance industry, you voted to cripple health care in America. Now, what's your plan?
Yeah.
But they shouldn't just take it, they shouldn't go into some defensive crouch. And I think the Republican Party needs to be retrained to be an effective organization culturally because they don't understand the speed. This is what Trump was brilliant at. Trump understands the speed and the nature of modern communications. And the average Republican does not. They're too timid, they're too passive, and they allow the left to define what the argument is.
Well, you got to give them credit for defining the argument, the left, because they've done a great job driving this non-existent story of collusion as far as they could drive it. But here's my question to you. Do you think the fact that there's so much obstructionism going on, the left just does not want his agenda executed, they're going to do whatever they can, whether it's creating this collusion story or getting in front of him on something else, Will voters react to that?
Yes, I think
Will
they will.
Voters in 2018 say, you know what, you stopped the agenda that I voted for from getting through. I'm not voting for you now.
The left is dangerously close to becoming the party of holding up Trump's bleeding head, the party of assassinating the president in a tax-paid public play, the party that has nothing but hostile, vicious negativity, the party whose national chairman has to run around saying expletives all day long because he has nothing intelligent to say. They're in very real danger of sealing themselves off. Under Margaret Thatcher, Thatcher's really more like Trump in that both of them are much more polarizing than Reagan was. And under Thatcher, the left went so crazy that by her third campaign, the news media referred to him as the loony left. Well, you look at some of the stuff they're doing right now, and I think yesterday some of the performances by left-wing senators were so pathetic that it's unbelievable.
But the GOP has to get tax reform done. They've got to do their part.
They got to do real work.
Right.
And that means you slow down, you get out in the open, you talk about it, and you know what the parameters are. I don't care about tax reform. I care about tax cuts. They get the corporate tax rate to 20 or below. This economy is going to boom. If they find a way to bring back all the money locked up overseas, the economy is going to boom. If they can find a way to have a reasonable tax cut for working Americans, they're going to be tremendously happy. So there are things you could do and package together.
Yeah.
They ought to, frankly, go get about getting it done.
Right. And then we'll see a real difference. One group got it done. The other group tried to obstruct come November 18th. So we'll see.
If you like jobs, you vote Republican. If you like unemployment, you vote Democrat. And that's the battle cry.
Newt Gingrich. The book is Understanding Trump. Thank you so much,
Good
sir.
to be with you.
Good to see you, as always.